David Allen James Rathke.
And my uncle, NYPD, ESU, Truck 7 police officer, Santos Valentin Jr., and his partner, Ronald Klopfer. You guys are amazing. You're forever our heroes. Your families miss you every day. We will always remember you. We will always honor you. And your sacrifice will never go unnoticed till we meet again.
First, I want to take a moment to honor Martin Giovinazzo, the uncle of my coworker Lisa. He was a maintenance mechanic for Marsh & McLennan in the North Tower. Out of respect for him and his family, I want to acknowledge his memory today. He is deeply missed, and we remember him with gratitude. And my father, Edward Frank Polis. He worked for Aon in the South Tower on the 101st floor. I recently learned that on that day, he made sure everyone on his floor got out safely, but when the PA system announced it was safer to return, my dad went back up. That's just who he was, someone who put others before himself even in the most difficult moments. I was only 7 when he passed, but the memories I have are still so vivid. I remember playing video games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro on our PlayStation 1 together. We would also watch TV, shows like Rugrats, Blue's Clues, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He'd make us mac and cheese on the weekends when my mom was working, and he always made sure we felt safe with bedtime stories. Those small everyday moments are the ones that have stayed with me the most. My dad was never a slacker. He lived with strength and earned respect in everything he did, whether at work, with his family, or just taking care of himself. Take care of himself. I tend to slack around this time of year with the gym, my diet, and staying focused, but I know my dad wouldn't let me get away with that. He always pushed me to do better, and I won't let him down. Dad, I miss you every day. I'll keep pushing, just like you always did. You taught me strength, respect, and the importance of showing up for the people you love, and I carry that with me. Before I finish, I want to say a special happy birthday to my mom, who is here today. Mom, I love you. I know Daddy would be so proud of the way you've carried us through this journey. Happy birthday.
William Ralph Robb.
Gerard F. Rousey.
Alexei Razuvayev.
Gregory Rita.
Sarah Ann Redheffer.
Michelle Marie Reed.
Judith Ann Reese.
Donald J. Regan.
Robert M. Regan.
Thomas Michael Regan.
Christian Michael Otto Regenhard.
Howard Reich.
Greg Reedy.
James Brian Riley.
Kevin O. Riley.
Timothy E. Riley.
Joseph Rena Jr.
Thomas Barnes Reinig.
Frank Bennett Reisman.
Joshua Scott Reese.
Karen Renda.
John Armand Rio.
Richard Cyril Rescorla.
John Thomas Resta.
Sylvia Sampio Resta.
Martha M. Reski.
David E. Reddick.
Todd H. Rubin.
Luis Clodoaldo Ravil Mayer.
Eduvigus Reyes Jr.
Bruce Albert Reynolds.
John Frederick Rhodes.
Francis Saverio Riccadelli.
Rudolph N. Riccio.
Anne Marie Riccoboni.
David Harlow Rice.
Eileen Mary Rice.
Kenneth Frederick Rice III.
Cecilia E. Richard.
Vernon Allen Richard.
And my uncles, Emmerich Harvey and Robert T. Twomey, and family friends Kathy Maza and Edward Shunk. Thank you.
And my cousin, Sergeant Robert Jim Bob Coffers of the Port Authority Police Department. Bobby, your grandsons are getting so big now. You have 2 great nieces now. I can't believe it's been 23 years since you were taken from us, and the pain is just as raw as it was the day it happened. I pray that our leaders will never let another 9/11 happen again. I miss and love you, Bobby.
Claude Daniel Richards.
Gregory David Richards.
Michael Richards.
Vanessa Orintia Richards.
Jimmy Riches.
Alan J. Richmond.
John M. Rigo.
Frederick Charles Rimmel III.
Rose Mary Riso.
Moises N. Rivas.
Joseph R. Ravelli Jr.
Carmen Alicia Rivera.
Isaias Rivera.
Juan William Rivera.
Linda Ivelisse Rivera.
David E. Rivers.
Joseph R. Reverso.
Paul V. Rizza.
John Frank Rizzo.
Stephen Louis Roach.
Joseph Roberto.
Leo Arthur Roberts.
Michael E. Roberts.
Michael Edward Roberts.
Donald Walter Robertson Jr.
Jeffrey Robinson.
Michelle Lee Jean Robotham.
Donald Arthur Robson.
Antonio A. Rocha.
Raymond James Rocha.
Laura Rockefeller.
John Michael Rodak.
Antonio Jose Rodriguez.
Anthony Rodriguez.
Carmen Milagros Rodriguez.
Gregory E. Rodriguez.
Marcia A. Rodriguez.
Mayra Valdez Rodriguez.
Richard Rodriguez.
David Bartolo Rodriguez Vargas.
And my cousin, Michael A. Marty. This is the first anniversary that Michael's mother and my aunt, Rosalie Marty, is also no longer with us. Michael, I'm so glad that after 23 years, you guys are finally reunited. For the rest of us down here, just know that we miss you, we love you, we remember you every single day, and we will never ever forget.
And my wife, Catherine Susan Wolfe. 13 wonderful years. When I look back, I say, wow, even though I lost her, 13 wonderful years. It's so good to feel good about what I had rather than to feel bad about what I lost. She was wonderful, and I'd also like to say thank you. Thank you to all the people starting here and all the people who have made this place we are here now happen. From the very top, Michael Bloomberg, to the people that clean the concrete and marble late at night. Thank you to our governments, the city government, the state government, the federal government. The first year I read was the first anniversary, and my God, is it different now. It is a wonderful, wonderful place to remember our loved ones, the promises that have been kept, and of course, our own national security, which we need very badly. Thank you for everybody.
Matthew Rogan. Jean Destrahan Roger.
Carly Rogers.
Scott William Ronner,
Keith Michael Roma,
Joseph M. Romanlolo,
Efrain Romero Sr.,
Elvin Romero,
James A. Ramito,
Sean Paul Rooney,
Eric Thomas Rapito,
Aida Rosario,
Angelina Rosario,
Mark H. Rosen,
Brooke David Rosenbaum,
Linda Rosenbaum,
Cheryl Lynn Rosenbaum,
Lloyd Daniel Rosenberg,
Mark Louis Rosenberg,
Andrew Ira Rosenblum,
Joshua M. Rosenblum,
Joshua Allen Rosenthal,
Richard David Rosenthal,
Philip Martin Rosenzweig,
Danielle Rossetti,
Richard Barry Ross,
Norman N. Rossinow,
Nicholas P. Rosamondo,
Michael Craig Rothberg,
Donna Marie Rothenberg,
Mark David Rothenberg,
James Michael Rue,
Nicholas Charles Alexander Rowe,
Edward V. Rowenhorst,
Judy Rowlett,
Timothy Allen Roy Sr.,
Paul G. Ruback,
Ronald J. Rubin,
Joanne Rubino,
David M. Ruddle,
and my brother, Nicholas Charles Alexander Rowe. Losing Nicholas left a hole in our family that can never be replaced. My mom and dad are now with him, and they took with them their memories of Nick and their heartache.
and my uncle, Colonel Charles Edward Jones, who served this country proudly with the United States Air Force and was on that first plane, lost his life along with all of the innocent others. He will never be forgotten, always remembered. His life and legacy will continue.
Bart Joseph Ruggieri,
Susan A. Ruggiero,
Adam Keith Rualter,
Gilbert Ruiz,
Robert E. Russell,
Stephen P. Russell,
Stephen Harris Russin,
Michael Thomas Russo Sr.,
Wayne Allen Russo,
William R. Ruth,
Edward Ryan,
John Joseph Ryan,
Jonathan Stephen Ryan,
Matthew L. Ryan,
Tatiana Rishova,
Christina Sunga Ryuk,
Thierry Sada,
Jason Elazar Sabag,
Thomas E. Sabella,
Scott H. Saber,
Charles E. Saban Sr.,
Joseph Francis Satterdote,
Jessica Lee Sachs,
Francis John Sedocha,
Jude Elias Safi,
Brock Joel Safronoff,
Edward Saya,
John Patrick Salamone,
Marjorie E. Solomon,
Hernando Rafael Salas,
Juan G. Salas,
Esmerlin Antonio Salcido,
John Pepe Salerno,
Rama Salih and her unborn child,
Richard L. Salinardi, Jr.,
Wayne John Salomon,
Norbert Solomon,
Catherine Patricia Salter,
Frank G. Salvatierra,
Paul Richard Salvio,
and my uncle, Christopher William Woodencheck. Chris was one of the best persons I've ever known. He was a great father, husband, brother, uncle, and friend. It's hard to believe it's 23 years now, especially for his 5 children. He was 35 when he passed, and it was way too soon. His children hardly knew him. Today, I want to thank everybody who still comes here and watches this ceremony. Without you, this wouldn't be here still. I want to thank everybody who puts this together and works behind the scenes. This would never flow as smoothly as it does. Thank you. Our military, of course, and our first responders as well. Thank you very much. and God bless America.
And my brother, Jayesh Shantilal Shah. Jayesh, though you are no longer with us, your legacy of love, joy, and dedication continue to live on in the hearts of all of us you touched. Your spirit and the memories you've left behind will forever be a source of comfort and inspiration to Jyoti, Nikita, Sonia, Kevin, Darshi, Giovanni, Zubin, and all of our friends and families. Thank you, New York. Thank you, FDNY, and all first responders, and God bless America.
Samuel Robert Salvo Jr.,
Carlos Alberto Samiago,
John P. Sammartino,
James Kenneth Samuel Jr.,
Michael San Philip,
Hugo M. Sine,
Alva Cynthia Jeffries Sanchez,
Jacqueline Patrice Sanchez,
Jesus Sanchez,
Raymond Sanchez,
Eric M. Sand,
Stacy Leah Sanders,
Herman S. Sandler,
Jim Sands Jr.,
Aileen J. Santiago,
Kirsten Reese Santiago,
Maria Teresa Concepcion Santillan,
Susan Gail Santo,
Christopher A. Santora,
John August Santore,
Mario L. Santoro,
Rafael Umberto Santos,
Rufino C.F. Santos III,
Victor J. Saracini,
Kalyan Sakar,
Chappelle Rene Stewart Sarker,
Paul F. Sarl,
Deepika Kumar Sataliri,
Gregory Thomas Sacedo,
Susan M. Sauer,
Anthony Savas,
Vladimir Savikin,
John Michael Sabarbaro,
David M. Scales,
Robert Louis Scandal,
Michelle Scarpita,
Dennis Scousa,
John Albert Sharp,
John G. Sharf,
Fred C. Sheffield Jr.,
Angela Susan Scheinberg,
Scott Mitchell Schertzer,
Sean Shelkey,
Stephen Francis Schlegel,
Robert A. Schlegel,
John Schliessel,
Karen Helene Schmidt,
Ian Schneider,
Thomas G. Scholes,
Frank G. Schott Jr.,
Gerard Patrick Schrang,
Jeffrey H. Schreier,
John T. Schrader,
Susan Lee Laspa Schuler,
Edward W. Shunk,
Mark Evan Schumeyer,
John Burkhart Schwartz,
Mark Schwartz,
Adrian Victoria Sabetta,
Raphael Skorka,
and my uncle Christopher Paul Slattery. Even though we never got to meet, I love you and I will never forget you.
and to my uncles Robert W. Spear Jr. and Timothy Avon Haviland, we love you and miss you. God bless America.
Janice M. Scott,
Randolph Scott,
Christopher J. Scudder,
Arthur Warren Scullin,
Michael H. Seaman,
Margaret M. Seeliger,
Anthony Segara,
Carlos Segara,
Jason M. Sexer,
Matthew Carmen Salito,
Michael L. Selvis,
Howard Selwyn,
Larry John Senko,
Arturo Angelo Sereno,
Frankie Serrano,
Marion H. Serva,
Alana Sesanova,
Adele Christine Sessa,
Sita Namala Sunareen,
Karen Lynn Seymour,
Davis Greer Senza Jr.,
Thomas Joseph Scroy,
Jayesh Shantalal Shah,
Khalid M. Shahid,
Mohammed Shahjahan,
Gary Shamay,
Earl Richard Shanahan,
Dan F. Shanauer,
Neil G. Shastri,
Catherine Ann Shatzoff,
Barbara A. Shaw,
Jeffrey James Shaw,
Robert John Shea Jr.,
Daniel James Shea,
Joseph Patrick Shea,
Kathleen Shearer,
Robert M. Shearer,
Linda June Sheehan,
Hagay Sheffy,
Antoinette M. Sherman,
John Anthony Sherry,
Atsushi Shiratori,
Thomas Joseph Schubert,
Mark Schulman,
C. Wang Shum,
Alan Abraham Schwartzstein,
Claren Shelley Siegel Schwartz,
Joanna Sigmund,
Diane T. Signer,
Gregory Sikorsky,
Stephen Gerard Siller,
David Silver,
Craig A. Silverstein,
Nasima H. Simji,
Bruce Edward Simmons,
Diane M. Simmons,
Donald D. Simmons,
George W. Simmons,
Arthur Simon,
Kenneth Allen Simon,
and my brother, Michael Wittenstein. Michael, there aren't enough words to express how much you are missed and loved. And coming here every year, although it brings some level of comfort, it'll never take away the pain of you being gone. We know you're looking upon us and so proud of what your nieces and nephews have accomplished. We love you and we miss you. Thank you.
and my uncle Greg Reedy. We know you are dancing in heaven. We love and miss you every single day. Thank you.
Michael J. Simon,
Paul Joseph Simon,
Marianne LeCory Simone,
Barry Simowitz,
Jane Lewis Simpkin,
Jeff Lyle Simpson,
Cheryl D. Sincock,
Kamlade Kami Singh,
Roshan Ramesh Singh,
Thomas E. Sinton III,
Peter A. Syracuse,
Muriel If Siskopoulos,
Joseph Michael Sisolak,
John P. Scala,
Francis Joseph Skidmore Jr.,
Toyena Corliss Skinner,
Paul Albert Skirsepic,
Christopher Paul Slattery,
Vincent Robert Slavin,
Robert F. Sliwak,
Paul Kenneth Sloan,
Stanley S. Smagala Jr.,
Wendy L. Small,
Greg H. Smallwood,
Catherine T. Smith,
Daniel Lawrence Smith,
Gary F. Smith,
George Eric Smith,
Heather Lee Smith,
James Gregory Smith,
Jeffrey R. Smith,
Joyce Patricia Smith,
Carl T. Smith Sr.,
Kevin Joseph Smith,
Leon Smith Jr.,
Moira Ann Smith,
Monica Rodriguez Smith,
Rosemary A. Smith,
Bonnie Shihadi Smithwick,
Rochelle Monique Snell,
Christine Ann Snyder,
Diane Bullis Snyder,
Leonard J. Snyder Jr.,
Astrid Elizabeth Sohan,
Sushil S. Solanki,
Ruben Solaris,
Naomi Leah Solomon,
Daniel W. Song,
Mary Ray Sopper,
Michael Charles Soresi,
Fabian Soto,
Timothy Patrick Sulas,
Gregory Thomas Bagnaletti,
Donald F. Spampanato, Jr.,
Thomas Barasio,
John Anthony Spataro,
Robert W. Spear, Jr.,
Robert Spiceman,
Maynard S. Spence, Jr.,
George Edward Spencer III,
and my fiance, Andrew J. Bailey. Andrew, in this very space is where we met and where I lost you. Losing you on September 11th changed my life forever. Though you left us and your baby girl Rocky far too soon, the memories we shared both at home and in this space will forever remain in our hearts. Myself escaping Tower 1, losing you, our friends, and my job in a matter of hours gave me a new sense of purpose. It gave me a voice to advocate and fight for what is right and wrong in this country. I'm here to remind everyone that life can change in the blink of an eye. So love more, especially your neighbors. Live more, laugh more with family and friends, because we are not promised tomorrow. Andrew, I knew you were up there doing what you loved on the 93rd floor at Marsh and McLennan, trying to bring people to safety. My family and I promise to keep your memory alive, ensuring that those around us will never forget you and all the lives lost on September 11th.
and my sister, Lindsay Stapleton Morehouse. Like all of these souls lost this day, my sister Lindsay was a bright light in our lives. And even though she left us 23 years ago, her light still shines strong in all that loved and knew her. I love you, Linz, and I also love this city and my fellow New Yorkers.
Robert Andrew Spencer.
Mary Rubina Sperando.
Frank Spinelli.
William E. Spitz.
Saranya Saran.
Fitzroy St. Rose.
Michael F. Stable.
Lawrence T. Stack.
Timothy M. Stackpool.
Richard James Stottelberger.
Eric Adam Stallman.
Gregory Stack.
Mary Dominica Stanley.
Anthony Starita.
Jeffrey Stark.
Derek James Statkevicius.
Patricia J. Stats.
Craig William Staub.
William V. Steckman.
Eric Thomas Steen.
William R. Steiner.
Alexander Robbins Steinman.
Edna L. Steffens.
Andrew Sturgiopoulos.
Andrew J. Stern.
Norma Lang Sturley.
Martha Jane Stevens.
Michael James Stevens.
Richard H. Stewart, Jr.
Sanford M. Stoller.
Douglas Joel Stone.
Lonnie J. Stone.
Jimmy Neville Story.
Timothy Stout.
Thomas Strada.
James J. Strain, Jr.
Edward Thomas Strauss.
Stephen R. Strauss.
Larry L. Strickland.
Stephen F. Strobert.
Wildwin Wellington Stewart, Jr.
Benjamin Suarez.
David Scott Suarez.
Ramon Suarez.
Dino Xavier Suarez Ramirez.
Yoichi Sumimama Sugiyama.
David Mark Sullins.
Christopher P. Sullivan.
William Christopher Sugar.
Thomas G. Sullivan.
Patrick Sullivan.
James Joe Wazo.
Hilararo Serrano Samaya Jr. I was only in the 5th grade when the towers fell. I didn't know what a terrorist was. All I knew that my Uncle Michael was gone and he wasn't coming back. There was no more squeezing into his 2-door coupe, taking trips back and forth. There was no more wrestling in my Titi Jane's backyard. There was no more family holidays with him. Now, listening to millions of stories today and hearing so many tears and cries and frustrations of lost ones, I'm here to tell you guys that they're fallen but not forgotten. My kids will never forget who their Uncle Michael is. I will never forget who my Uncle Michael is. I love you forever, Michael Angelo Trinidad.
And my aunt, Karen Joyce Klitzman. Aunt Karen, you were only 5 years old when you were taken from me, but I will never forget the memories we had together. You took me to my first Yankee game, my first Big Apple Circus, and even gave me my first slice of New York cheesecake. You were truly one of a kind. We love you, we miss you, and we will never forget.
Colleen M. Sapinski.
Robert Sutcliffe.
Celine Sutter.
Claudia Suzette Sutton.
John Francis Sweeney.
Christine M. Swearson.
Brian David Sweeney.
Brian Edward Sweeney.
Madeline Amy Sweeney.
Kenneth J. Swenson.
Thomas F. Swift.
Derek Ogilvie Sword.
Kevin Thomas Sozik.
Gina Steinberg.
Norbert P. Shorkowski.
Harry Tabak.
Joanne C. Tabak.
Norma C. Tadai.
Michael Tadano.
Kaishiro Takahashi.
Kenji Takahashi.
Phyllis Gail Talbot.
Robert R. Tahami.
John Talginani.
Sean Patrick Tollin.
Paul Talty.
Marita Tam.
Rachel Tamaris.
Hector Rogan Tamayo.
Michael Andrew Tamuccio.
Conchiro Tanaka.
Rondell Sherrod Tankard.
Kenneth Joseph Ternino.
Dennis Gerard Taramina Jr.
Michael C. Terrell.
Alan Tarasevich.
Deborah Torella.
Ronald Tartaro.
Donnie Brooks Taylor.
Daryl Anthony Taylor.
Kip P. Taylor.
Hilda E. Taylor.
Larissa Clayton Taylor.
Leonard E. Taylor.
Sandra C. Taylor.
Michael Morgan Taylor.
Carl W. T.P.
Sandra Dawn Teague.
Yeshivant Moshar Timby.
Paul A. Techmeyer.
Dorothy Pearl Temple.
Anthony Tempesta.
David Gustav Peter Tanglin.
Stanley L. Temple.
Lisa Marie Terry.
Brian John Terenzi.
Harshad Sham Thatway.
Gumati Thackerdine. Michael Theodorus.
And my grandmother Louise Ann Lynch, that should be here but isn't.
And my cousin John Francis McDowell Jr. We love you and miss you. I hope you're hitting them straight up there, and even after 23 years, you still haven't three-putt. We know Aunt Patty, you, and Uncle Jack are here with us today. God bless our troops, and God bless America.
Thomas F. Thurkoff Jr.
Leslie Ann Thomas.
Brian Thomas Thompson.
Clive Ian Thompson.
Glenn Thompson.
Nigel Bruce Thompson.
Perry A. Thompson.
Vanava Alexi Thompson.
Captain William Harry Thompson.
Eric Raymond Thorpe.
Nicola Angela Thorpe.
Tamara C. Thurman,
Sal Edward Thierry Jr.,
John Patrick Tierney,
Mary Ellen Tiesi,
William Randolph Tista,
Kenneth Tejan,
Stephen Edward Ty,
Scott Charles Temes,
Michael E. Tinley,
Jennifer M. Tino,
Robert Frank Tapaldi,
John James Tipping II,
David Tirado,
Hector Luis Tirado Jr.,
Michelle Lee Titolo,
Alicia Nicole Titus,
John J. Tobin,
Richard J. Tedisco,
Otis V. Tolbert,
Vladimir Tomasevich,
Stephen Kevin Thompson,
Thomas Tong,
Doris Torres,
Luis Eduardo Torres,
Amy Elizabeth Toyin,
Christopher Michael Traina,
Daniel Patrick Trent,
Abdul Karim Traore,
Glenn J. Travers Sr.,
Walter Philip Travers,
Felicia Yvette Trailer Bass,
James Anthony Trentini,
Mary Barbara Trentini,
Lisa L. Treratola,
Karamo Baba Trera,
Michael Angel Trinidad,
Francis Joseph Trombino,
Gregory James Trost,
Willie Q. Troy,
William P. Slepes Jr.,
Zanetta Valentinovna Soy,
Michael Patrick Tucker,
Lance Richard Tumulty,
Ching Ping Tung,
Simon James Turner,
Donald Joseph Tuzio,
Robert T. Twome,
Jennifer Lynn Semis,
John G. Yusufer,
and my brother, Sergeant Thomas Edward Jurgens. You led a life of service to your community, to your neighbors. And while that ultimately cost you your life, you've had the really big impact on everyone's lives you've touched. And on a positive note, as an avid Yankee fan, just want you to know that the Yankees are #1 in the AL East. So I hope they have the Yes Network in heaven.
and my mother, Claudia Suzette Sutton. I'm almost 30 now, but still very much that 6-year-old girl waiting for you to come home. We love you and we miss you. We hope we are making and continue to make you proud. We carry you with us in everything that we do. Continue to watch over us.
Tyler Victor Ugalin,
Michael A. Uliano,
Jonathan J. Uman,
Anil Shivari Umarkar,
Alan V. Upton,
Diane Marie Urban,
John Damian Vacaccio,
Bradley Hodges Vadas,
William Valcarcel,
Felix Antonio Bale,
Ivan Vale,
Benito Valentin,
Santos Valentin Jr.,
Carlton Francis Balvo II,
Pandyala Vam Shri Krishna,
Erica H. Van Acker,
Kenneth W. Van Auken,
R. Bruce Van Hine,
Daniel M. Van Laer,
Edward Raymond Vanacore,
John Charles Van Devander,
Frederick T. Varachi,
Gopalakrishnan Varadan,
David Vargas,
Scott C. Vassal,
Azail Ishmael Vasquez,
Ronald J. Valk,
Archangel Vasquez,
Santos Vasquez,
Peter Vega,
Sankara Sastri Velamuri,
Jorge Velasquez,
Lawrence G. Velling,
Anthony Mark Ventura,
David Vera,
Loretta Ann Vero,
Christopher James Villalonga,
Matthew Gilbert Viana,
Robert Anthony Vicario,
Celeste Torres Victoria,
Joanna Vidal,
John T. Vigiano II,
Joseph Vincent Vigiano,
Frank J. Vignola Jr.,
Joseph Barry Villardo,
Clarabel Villalomos Hernandez,
Sergio Gabriel Villanueva,
Chantal Vincelli,
Melissa Renee Vincent,
Francine N. Virgiello,
Lawrence Virgilio,
Joseph Gerard Vinciano,
Joshua S. Vital,
Maria Pacoco Vola,
Lynette D. Vosquez,
Garo H. Voskirijan,
Alfred Anton Vuska,
Gregory Kamal Bruno Watler,
Karen J. Wagner,
Mary Alice Wallstrom,
and my sister Jody Tepedino Nicolo, Tower 1, 105th floor, Cantor Fitzgerald. We love you, Jody. We miss you. And until we meet again, we will forever sing your praise.
and my uncle, Luis Eduardo Torres. Uncle, Theo, it's been 23 years since you've left this world. We take the time on this day and like every other day to look back at those countless memories of you and share emotions with the family. One of those memories I still cherish a lot are the ones Mommy tells about your career in the military. You served with passion and with dedication in the Colombian military for over 2 years, while specializing in engineering and reaching your goal, which was to enter the Airborne Division and become a paratrooper. Except you had to leave to the States and leave the dream behind. So now I'll be following your footsteps with honor and glory. Last ceremony I entered senior year. This year's ceremony I graduate senior year and have dedicated my future with the U.S. National Guard and expect to leave this November for basic training to truly embark in this journey. I'm doing this for you, Theo, and your name. I hope you're proud of me. We miss you and love you. Te quiero mucho, Theo. Que Dios bendiga esta nación. God bless you all.
Honor Elizabeth Waineo.
Gabriela Sylvina Waisman.
Wendy Alice Rosario Wakeford.
Courtney Wainsworth Walcott.
Victor Wald.
Kenneth E. Waldy.
Benjamin James Walker.
Glenn Wall.
Mitchell Scott Wallace.
Peter Guider Wallace.
Robert Francis Wallace.
Roy Michael Wallace.
Jean Marie Wallendorf.
Matthew Blake Wallens.
Meta L. Waller.
John Wallace Jr.
Barbara P. Walsh.
Jim Walsh.
Jeffrey P. Walls.
Ching Wang.
Weban Wang.
Michael Warcola.
Stephen Gordon Ward.
Timothy Ray Ward.
James A. Waring.
Brian G. Warner.
Derek Christopher Washington.
Charles Waters.
James Thomas Waters, Jr.
Patrick J. Waters.
Kenneth Thomas Watson.
Michael Henry Way.
Todd Christopher Weaver.
Walter Edward Weaver.
Nathaniel Webb.
Diana Webster.
William Michael Weems.
Joanne Flora Weil.
Michael Thomas Weinberg.
Stephen Weinberg.
Scott Jeffrey Weingard.
Stephen George Weinstein.
Simon Weiser.
David M. Weiss.
David Thomas Weiss.
Chin Supak Wells.
Vincent Michael Wells.
Deborah Jacobs Welsh.
Timothy Matthew Welty.
Christian Hans Rudolph Wemmers.
Sue Wee Wen.
John Joseph Wenkus.
Ole D. Wenderchuk.
Peter M. West.
Whitfield West Jr.,
Meredith Lynn Whalen.
Eugene Michael Whalen,
Adam S. White.
Edward James White III,
And James Patrick Weiss. White. Sorry.
and my sister Judith Ann Reese. Well, my dear sister, it's been 23 years since we lost you, and we miss you every day. In some ways, it seems like a lifetime ago, and in some ways, it seems like yesterday. All of us miss your smile, your sense of humor, and your carefree spirit. We miss so many things about you, and we have so many memories that bring a smile to our face. Whenever we hear a country western song, especially Garth Brooks, or any music from the 50s, we are reminded of how much you loved listening to their music. These memories and so many more are forever a part of the fabric of our lives. As you know, we were all deeply saddened with the passing of our nephew Brian 2 years ago. We miss his energy, his wit, and his passionate dedication to all who knew him. We take comfort in the knowledge that you and his mother, Elizabeth, welcomed him into heaven with open arms, and we know that you're all watching over us. Judy, your nephews and niece and their spouses, Michael and Loma, Jackie, Kevin and Eileen, Christine and Joseph, and Dennis and Holly are awesome role models for their incredible children. Emily and